Excellent. Well, thank you so much for presenting today. I know you're going to be talking a little bit about autocomplete. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, correct. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. We'll let you get to it.
All right, perfect. So, hey everyone, glad to be here. So, as Chuck said, I'm Alex Collin. I'm part of the business and optimization team here at Algolia. Among other things, I'm in charge of our center of expertise in terms of UX, helping customer unlock maximum value through their search and discovery experiences. Previously, with my background in software engineering, had the opportunity to wear on multiple hats here at Algolia, from solution engineer, solution architect in my early days, to more recently product manager for the front-end experience team, in charge of products such as instant search and autocomplete, on which we touched on. But I'm glad to be here today to share with you my learnings over the years on building great search and discovery experiences, and more especially autocomplete experiences. So autocomplete, often referred as autosuggest, search suggestions, or type ahead, you name it, right? Here at Algolia, we like to call it, as you heard, autocomplete. So if you go on the website, just use that name to find different resources. Always comes down ultimately to the same pattern, right? You have a search box, you tap into it, and it pops up like suggestions from which you can learn and interact with. Either you're on Google, and like me, you've been searching for the best place maybe to hit here in Bordeaux, where I'm based. So if you just come around, just drop me a line. Happy to grab a coffee, or on your or just shopping, right, for winter accessory or dress, right, and just like here on Amazon, or even like just listening to a song. So different type of applications, and as you can see, we always come those always come with different suggestions, and this is actually expected because it has become a web convention. It's very, very convenient for users, and numbers show that over 75% of users, according to Baymard Institute, are actually looking for those suggestions on the internet. Why are they looking for those? Because they ultimately help decrease the interaction cost and mental effort when interacting with search. It's possible because they help users to learn how to spell difficult terms. For instance, we're searching for an artist name, right? I'm not necessarily familiar how to spell it, but also helps getting inspiration. Like in our example, when I was searching for a best place in Bordeaux, right? I don't necessarily know exactly what exists, but I can lean on what the crowd had searched before. And ultimately, with just a few keystrokes, it helps me submit complex search queries, which really kind of formulate in more detailed way my search. So as part of this talk today, I'm going to touch on and bring to you my 10 years of experience in search when it comes to building great search and discovery experiences with UX, primarily focused on UX, but also some tips on how to build it at lower cost with the Algolia API and ecosystem. That's for the first part. And on the second part, I'm going to unveil to you that actually autocomplete can happen beyond the search box in many ways. But I don't want to spoil too much. So let's get into it. Right before I jump into the best practices, I just wanted to remind ourselves about a few key numbers when it comes to usage, and more specifically about mobile usage. As we can see on the top right here, we observe that mobile usage is already over 50%, and that's for many years. It's accounted for over 2/3 of web traffic those days. And it goes even above this in certain cases, like in retail, where we observe frequently over 73%, according to Content Square last report. And this is also something we observe here at Algolia. When I make reviews for a customer, I observe some of them to actually get up to 90% of search traffic on mobile web, right? And it matters because basically we know that 88% of customers are less likely to return to a site after a poor experience. And it's actually even more the case for mobile users, who are 5 times more likely to abandon a task if the website is not optimized for mobile. And as we all know, mobiles come with its own challenges, right? We have to deal with the UI on smaller screens, interact with fingers, where it's very proof to fat finger effect, and we're often like facing connectivity issues, distracting environment as being on the move. So ultimately, mobile users are likely to get frustrated, and I'm hoping to share with you some good UX tips and best practices so you can apply to really deliver a great experience, including on mobile. So let's not wait for longer and jump into pitfalls and best practices for autocomplete. So the first one, even before you show the autocomplete dropdown, what you want to make sure is to actually make the search predominant. So we have 3 examples. On the left side, we see we have a small search icon on the very top right. On the second one, we have a big search box, which takes the full space, but it's not necessarily super visual. It doesn't visually stand out. And on the right side, here's our good example where we have a full search box and it's really visual, stands out. And plus it gives us even hints about what I can search for, such as products, brands, and even advices, right? This is important because, for instance, on ecom, Market Insights tells us that over 60% of users, they actually start their session when being on the homepage with a search, right? And so we've also observed at Algolia that when customer actually implement a wide search box like this, they get up to 50% more usage on desktop and 20% more on mobile when that's the case. And that's actually it's actually meant to here's basically, sorry, so basically it's expected in a sense, because like basically we have to, when dealing with mobile, we cope with our thumbs, right? This is how we interact with mobile. And so by making we see that for right-handed people or like left-handed, like the top left, top right side are not the easiest to access with the thumb, right? So by making the search predominant, we're actually lowering the search box, and we're also making it more space to tap. So it's actually expected that it helps users to better engage. Some brands like Uniqlo have understood that very well, and so they actually iterated recently on their design. As we can see, the search box is not anymore on the top right or anywhere in the header, it's at the bottom in this green area, right? So that's great. That being said, myself, I don't have performance insights at the moment. It's still something we're exploring, and it's not yet a commonly used pattern. So I think it's great to echo this. That being said, it's also important to make sure that when you do build for a given platform, even if you do drive most of your traffic on mobile like Uniqlo, it's also important to optimize for all platforms. And here they did follow the same pattern on desktop, and they got a lot of people discussing this and detractors saying that it doesn't necessarily make sense on desktop, and it would have been better to keep it in the header, which I don't disagree with. So that was the first thing. The second thing is you want to maximize the screen real estate. Why? Because once you actually get the keyboard open on mobile, here are 2 screenshots I took on Amazon. The left one is the website, the right one is the app, and I took it on a regular phone, right? Not a Max or Plus, just a regular one. As we can see here, the green area represents the actually area that can be used to display results once keyboard is open, and it's actually only 40% remaining. So this is something important to keep in mind, and this is one of my tips for you today, and I've been applying, and it saved my life many times, is whenever you test a website, either it's yours or design in Figma or elsewhere, make sure the keyboard is open when it comes to the search autocomplete, because you will see oftentimes it actually happened that the original design doesn't fit with the keyboard open. So going back to the recommendation, you want to maximize the screen real estate. For instance, here on the left, we see that we're not really leveraging the full width, right? So it happens we just see 2 products. Here on the second one, we do a slightly better job, but here what we're missing is they miss on putting the search input at the very top, so we're losing space. And also the different suggestions are not fat finger, we're prone to fat finger issue, right? So basically the line height is too small, so make sure that the line height is at least 40 pixel. So as we can see on the right, so this way users can easily interact and don't mistype on the wrong item. Once you've done that, you actually want to make sure that your autocomplete contains query suggestions, right? Ideally between 6 to 8. If you can, include recent searches. This is something that comes as a plugin if you use our library called AutocompleteJS. You want to return results from the first keystroke, so the interface feels really responsive and reinforces the impression of control from the user. And you want to provide contrasted highlighting ideally on the part which hasn't been matching. So we call that inverted highlighting. So the user attention is focused on what remains to be read and not the opposite, right? Again, keeping that, keeping the mental effort as low as possible. And if you can, you want to optimize on the vertical alignment here. So you see the query suggestion right underneath, and we still get to see products here. So that's important as well. This way, users know that there's something beyond the keyboard, and they can just close the keyboard and continue exploring the product results. Once you've done that, you want to, the best implementation, what they do, they unlock value, not just during the search result state, but also during what we call the empty query state. What is this state? It's the one when you actually click or you tap in the input and you already get recommendations. Those recommendations are great to either inspire first-time users with popular searches, so it helps with the cold start. It's also a good opportunity to help existing user to resume a search displaying recent searches. Very commonly, users like they search for something, they navigate, they lost their search, they want to get back to it, and so on. It's also a good place to provide quick access to additional functionalities, like for instance on IKEA, remember they promote their image search, or you want to promote tailored navigation path, like here on that image, I can quickly access like maybe the new collection or quick access to the help center. So that's how it looks on desktop, and on the right on mobile. You can see everything fits on screen. The next step, once you've done that, again, the best implementation, what they do is they bring more results than just the product results, for instance, on e-commerce. So that's what we name federated search. On that example on the left, we see we get suggestions, we get many ways of navigating the catalog, such as category, brands, and we get results beyond purely e-commerce, like, for example, FAQ entries and event articles. What I'd like to put emphasis here on here is to make sure that it's made in a way which is not overwhelming for users. It's good to bring all results in a single place, but it's important to make sure that this is that users can digest that. And so here's an example on the right. I'm typing, and despite the type of results are changing dynamically, I'm still keeping 6 of them or 5 of them here. So these web products are always displayed above the keyboard, right? Regardless of the mix of suggestions displayed above. If you're interested in building such kind of experiences, we have a go-to guide in our documentation that explains you all details, how to build it with a live demo and the source code. So I can only encourage you to go check it out. And this is for the UX recommendation for autocomplete. There's many more. I hope you found those interesting, but if you're interested in exploring those more, we've put them all together into a Figma file, which is available on the Figma community. Either you snap the QR code now, or you will find the link in the comments afterwards. It's been a great resource, and so far the community have loved it. We've got already over 8,000 people downloading it, so we keep improving it over time. So that's for the first part, like really, how do you make autocomplete stand out and the main best practices. But as promised during the introduction of this presentation, I mentioned that autocomplete is everywhere and potentially also beyond the search box. So how come? Actually, without realizing it, we use it in many places, like on social platform, right? Here, yesterday, I was writing a tweet on X, and I just triggered the suggestion by starting typing the hat key right on my keyboard, and that pops up a drop down, very similar to the autocomplete experience again. This time, allowing me to search with just a few keystrokes to users I want to mention on the platform. Same on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn they also offer it for hashtags. So this way you can easily refer to different themes and creating links between with different things without like getting to the issue of everyone is naming things differently. So that's the first place where you can find autocomplete-like experiences beyond the search box. Another one, and that one has been inspired by social media, I assume, is within SaaS and productivity apps. At the beginning, the same pattern was used like on Atlas and Confluence to mention people. But what we've seen that over the years, and that has become more and more kind of a common feature those days, but on Notion or in Google Doc, we can see that, and I'm sure you've experienced with that, but not only we can reference people within a given document, but also we can link pages, files, calendar events, and so on. So as we can see, again, same pattern, but we trigger it through a specific key that we type when typing the text and not engaging directly with a search box. But behind the scene, from a development standpoint, it's exactly the same thing. So last one, which again, I think has been also inspired by this idea of being able to navigate with the keyboard like very efficiently and following the idea of like the mention is the command palette, which has been around for years on macOS, right, with the Spotlight feature, but have expanded over lots of different tools, GitHub, sales tools, Figma, and that most of the time you engage with doing a tapping on search with keyboard, like either Command K or Command Slash. On PC, I assume it's Control. And so this way you can really navigate all search autocomplete results with the keyboard. And the promise is that you can go access content, but you can also go access different features directly from your keyboard with just a few keystrokes. Again, if you're interested in exploring more of those patterns, we do have a guide. We'll provide the link in description. I greatly encourage you to go check it out. We have live demos, we have guides to help you get started. And all of those implementation can be built with our open source library called AutocompleteJS. So can that be on an e-commerce website, on your blog, or because you are building a SaaS and productivity app and you want to actually add a mention feature. So this one is really easing the work, because once you get to push your records to Algolia, then it's very easy to just get them into your front end with just minimal amount of work. So in a nutshell, today, we've seen that it's important to build for mobile and optimize for desktop, and not the other way around anymore. You always want to provide 6 to 8 query suggestions in addition to the main results. That works for e-com, but not only. You want to leverage the empty query state power as maximum to educate, to unlock additional feature, to provide quick access to things. And you want to support non-product searches when, for instance, you're in a traditional website, which we commonly name federated search. Last, there's an opportunity for you to enhance the user experience beyond the search box. Either it's a tag box, a mention, and a command palette. So if you're interested in exploring more of those recommendations, we just scratched the surface of around UX best practices, and you happen to be an Algolia customer, or you just signed up recently, go check out the Algolia Academy Pass, which is dedicated to UX best practices. It's made of 30 minutes of video, and it will help you understand all the best practices that we've consolidated over the years. That's it for me today. I appreciate your time, and don't hesitate to reach out on those if you do have any question.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alex, for all of these tips. I'm a huge fan of the command palette or omnibar, or whatever you call it, experience. Most recent one I learned just yesterday was /Slack font. In Slack lets you update the font of the entire UI right there from the command line.
Nice.
So I immediately went to a nice mono font from JetBrains.
Yeah, I love it too. And it's so easy to implement with Algolia. So
absolutely. It's almost like building a command line for your web application.
Exactly. Right.
We did have one question around autocomplete. Gustavo was curious about how autocomplete handles performance for like low-end mobile phones and I guess low bandwidth situations. Are there sort of pre-baked capabilities within autocomplete for handling those situations?
For the library itself, I think it's something that Gustavo would need to check out. I know that our team is optimizing as much as they can to really kind of get the maximum speed with the maximum of a feature. It's breaking down into different packages, so maybe there's no need for them to bring everything at once. So I think it's important to test, but ultimately it's optimized for speed, and we do have a customer using it even with React Native or some other frameworks. So yeah,
Right.
I would encourage him to go check it out.
And I think if you're using our clients, it can take advantage of our search network and all of that good stuff as well.
Correct. Yeah. In the clients itself, like good point, check. Like we have all the retry logic. How do you actually access Algolia response at a minimum latency while not having to focus on the network connectivity? Everything is taken care of on your behalf through the API client, and on top the autocomplete library or instant search, depending on what's your use case.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Alex. Appreciate all of your tips. Take care.